Welcome back students in our this session, and this is your assignment number 3, and in this assignment I'm going to teach you about the small intestine and the large intestine. So here we start. The small intestine, it is a long coiled tube of about 7 meters long in which stomach opens. The upper initial part of the small intestine is known as duodenum. Now you can see in the picture that which part is known as the small intestine. So here you can see that this part of the thing is known as of the human digestive system is known as the small intestine, and in this one part is known as the ileum, and this upper part is known as the duodenum. Now here the food is mixed with intestinal juices, pancreatic juice and the bile juices. Now these juices, they help in the digestion of the food. Then when it comes in the ileum, the digested food is absorbed into the blood. From the ileum, the digested food absorbed into the blood. So this is the small intestine. Now liver produces bile juice, which is stored in gallbladder and is released into the duodenum when required. Duodenum also receives the pancreatic juice from the pancreas, and these juices, they play an important role in the digestion process. The bile juices does not contain any digestive enzyme, but it helps in the digestion of fats by emulsifying them. Now children, the emulsification means the breaking down of fats into tiny droplets to provide the larger surface area for the enzymes to act. Means they break down the fats into tiny droplets, and with the help of the enzymes they can easily digest it. It also neutralizes the acidity of the food and makes it alkaline for the action of pancreatic juice. Now amylase, trypsin and lipase are three enzymes present in pancreatic juice. These are the three enzymes which are present in the pancreatic juice. Now trypsin changes proteins into peptones, and lipase acts on fats and change them to fatty acids and cholesterol. Now as I told you that there are certain enzymes which are responsible for the digestion of food. So these are the names of the enzymes, and these enzymes are responsible for the digestion of different types of foods. As you can see that this trypsin enzyme is responsible for changing the proteins into peptones, and the lipase enzyme, it acts on fats and it changes into fatty acids and cholesterol. Then amylase, it converts the leftover starch into maltose. As I told you that this amylase, it is present inside the saliva and it is responsible for converting the leftover starch into maltose. Now the partially digested food containing partially digested carbohydrates, proteins and emulsified fats enter the ileum, and the wall of the ileum secretes the intestinal juice called succus entericus. Here the food is acted upon by the enzymes trypsin, maltase, sucrase and lactase. Now these are the enzymes which acts on the food for the digestion, and it is present inside the ileum and it secretes the juices. Now the trypsin, it changes peptones, as I told you earlier also, it changes peptones into peptides and into amino acids. Then maltase, it changes maltose into glucose, and you know that glucose is responsible for giving us energy. Then sucrase, it changes sucrose into glucose and fructose. These are simple sugars, and this sugar, it gives us energy to our body, and it really required by our body for giving the energy to the body. Then lactase, it changes the lactose into glucose and galactase. Then peptides, they are converted into amino acids by the action of peptidases. So these are certain enzymes which are responsible for the changes of certain foods and for the digestion of food. Now, digestion of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates is completed in the small intestine only. Note that the food remains in the small intestine for about 3 to 5 hours for digestion and absorption. It takes about 3 to 5 hours for the digestion and absorption of food. Now, small intestine not only digests but also absorbs the food. The inner surface of the small intestine or ileum, it has a many tiny finger-like projections called villi, which increases the surface area of the intestine. Now you can see in the picture that these are the circular folds and villi of the small intestine. In this way it is coiled inside the intestine, and these villi, you can see the villus epithelium is there. The blood vessels, the red color vessels are the blood vessels that are supplying to the villus, and the intestinal muscles you can see, and there are capillary network also. The network that you are seeing here, that network is a capillary network. Now all these are present in the small intestine, and this villi, these finger-like projections, they are responsible for the collection of the food, for the digestion and the absorption of the food. Now villi contain blood vessels. As you can see in the diagram, this is the structure of single villus. You can see the red color, it shows the blood vessels, and this villi contains the blood vessels. The digested food passes through the thin walls of these blood vessels and enters into the bloodstream. Now when the digested food, when enters in the villi, it passes to the blood capillary, and it passes to the blood vessels, and from there it enters into the bloodstream. Now this process is called absorption. Now the tissue fluid called the lymph, the fluid that is present inside the tissue, that is known as lymph, flowing in lymphatic ducts and helps in the transportation of the digested fat. You can see the lymphatic duct over here, and in this lymphatic duct the fluid lymph is present, and it helps in the transportation of the digested fat. Now we come to the next, that is the large intestine. Now it is about 1.5 meters long and consists of 3 regions: the caesium, the colon and the rectum. Now I'll show you in the diagram. So here you can see that this part is known as the large intestine, the blue color part, and in this it is divided into 3 parts: the colon, the caesium and the rectum. Now the next colon is, it absorbs the water from undigested food, and the caesium is here, you can see, and the appendix is here. These have no known functions. This appendix, they do not have any kind of functions. Now the undigested food cannot be absorbed by the blood and is passed to the large intestine inside the colon and the rectum. Now the leftover food, which are also known as undigested food, that which are not absorbed by the blood, passes into the large intestine. Now the water is absorbed in the large intestine, and the solid fecal material is thrown out from the anus. Now water that is remain there in the undigested food, that is absorbed by the large intestine, and the solid fecal material is thrown out through the anus. This is called the ejection. The excretion out of the unwanted of the undigested food part is known as ejection. Now the rectum stores the feces temporarily, and then it passes out. So this is all about the small and the large intestine. Now after watching the video, you just answer these simple questions. Thank you.